Empty your cup so that it may be filled. Become devoid to gain totality. Bruce Lee. A good teacher protects his pupils from his own influence. Bruce Lee. Notice that the stiffest tree is most easily cracked, while the bamboo or willow survives by bending with the wind. Bruce Lee. A quick temper will make a fool of you soon enough. Bruce Lee. Not being tense but ready, not thinking but not dreaming, not being set but flexible. Liberation from the uneasy sense of confinement. It is being wholly and quietly alive, aware and alert, ready for whatever may come. Bruce Lee. Use only that which works, and take it from any place you can find it. Bruce Lee. Always be yourself, express yourself, have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate it. Bruce Lee. If you don't want to slip up tomorrow, speak the truth today. Bruce Lee. The doubters said, man cannot fly. The doers said, maybe, but we'll try, and finally saw it in the morning glow while non-believers watched from below. Bruce Lee. The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering. Bruce Lee. To hell with circumstances. I create opportunities. Bruce Lee. It is not a daily increase, but a daily decrease. Hack away at the inessentials. Bruce Lee. Love is like a friendship caught on fire. In the beginning a flame, very pretty, often hot and fierce, but still only light and flickering. As love grows older, our hearts mature and our love becomes as coals, deep burning and unquenchable. Bruce Lee. A goal is not always meant to be reached. It often serves simply a sommy thing to aim at. Bruce Lee. You must be shapeless, formless, like water. When you pour water in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. When you pour water in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can drip and it can crash. Become like water, my friend. Bruce Lee. If you spend too much time thinking about a thing, you'll never get it done. Bruce Lee. Mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them. Bruce Lee. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who had practiced one kick 10,000 times. Bruce Lee. A wise man can learn more from a foolish question than a fool can learn from a wise answer. Bruce Lee. Don't fear failure. Not failure, but low aim is the crime. In great attempts it is glorious even to fail. Bruce Lee. Be happy, but never satisfied. Bruce Lee. Adapt what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Bruce Lee. Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Bruce Lee. I am not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you are not in this world to live up to mine. Bruce Lee. The stillness in stillness is not the real stillness. Only when there is stillness in movement does the universal rhythm manifest. Bruce Lee. All knowledge leads to self-knowledge. Bruce Lee. Ever since I was a child, I have had this instinctive urge for expansion and growth. To me, the function and duty of a quality human being is the sincere and honest development of one's potential. Bruce Lee. The meaning of life is that it is to be lived, and it is not to be traded and conceptualized and squeezed into a patter of systems. Bruce Lee. Those who are unaware they are walking in darkness will never seek the light. Bruce Lee. Art calls for complete mastery of techniques developed by reflection within the soul. Bruce Lee. The more we value things, the less we value ourselves. Bruce Lee. Defeat is not defeat unless accepted as a reality in your own mind. Bruce Lee. To spend time is to pass it in a specified manner. To waste time is to expend it thoughtlessly or carelessly. We all have time to either spend or waste, and it is our decision what to do with it. But once past, it is gone forever. Bruce Lee. Time means a lot to me, because you see I am also a learner and am often lost in the joy of forever developing. Bruce Lee. The successful warrior is the average man, with laser-like focus. Bruce Lee. Be self-aware, rather than a repetitious robot. Bruce Lee. Showing off is the fool's idea of glory. Bruce Lee. Take things as they are. Punch when you have to punch. Kick when you have to kick. Bruce Lee. The spirit of the individual is determined by his dominating thought habits. Bruce Lee. Knowledge will give you power, but character respect. Bruce Lee. Using no way as a way, having no limitation as limitation. Bruce Lee. Now I see that I will never find the light unless, like the candle, I am my own fuel, consuming myself. Bruce Lee. Self-knowledge involves relationship. To know oneself is to study oneself in action with another person. Relationship is a process of self-evaluation and self-revelation. Relationship is the mirror in which you discover yourself to be related. Bruce Lee. Many people dedicate their lives to actualizing a concept of what they should be like, rather than actualizing themselves. This difference between self-actualization and self-image actualization is very important. Most people live only for their image. Bruce Lee. If you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of. Bruce Lee. If there is a God, he is within. You don't ask God to give you things. You depend on God for your inner theme. Bruce Lee. As you think, so shall you become. Bruce Lee. The great mistake is to anticipate the outcome of the engagement. You ought not to be thinking of whether it ends in victory or defeat. Let nature take its course, and your tools will strike at the right moment. Bruce Lee. If there is a God, he is within. You don't ask God to give you things. You depend on God for your inner theme. Bruce Lee. For it is easy to criticize and break down the spirit of others, but to know yourself takes a lifetime. Bruce Lee. The world is full of people who are determined to be somebody or to give trouble. They want to get ahead, to stand out. Such ambition has no use for a gung fu man who rejects all forms of self-assertiveness and competition. Bruce Lee. Effort within the mind further limits the mind, because effort implies struggle towards a goal. And when you have a goal, a purpose, an end in view, you have placed a limit on the mind. Bruce Lee. To me, the extraordinary aspect of martial arts lies in its simplicity. The easy way is also the right way, and martial arts is nothing at all special. The closer to the true way of martial arts, the less wastage of expression there is. Bruce Lee. Preparation for tomorrow is hard work today. Bruce Lee. You cannot force the now, but can you neither condemn nor justify, and yet be extraordinarily alive as you walk on? You can never invite the wind, but you must leave the window open. Bruce Lee. Don't think, feel. It's like a finger pointing at the moon. Do not concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all of the heavenly glory. Bruce Lee. It is compassion rather than the principle of justice which can guard us against being unjust to our fellow men. Bruce Lee. Bring the mind into sharp focus and make it alert, so that it can immediately intuit truth, which is everywhere. The mind must be emancipated from old habits, prejudices, restrictive thought processes, and even ordinary thought itself. Bruce Lee. The less effort, the faster and more powerful you will be. Bruce Lee. If nothing within you stays rigid, outward things will disclose themselves. Moving, be like water. Still, be like a mirror. Respond like an echo. Bruce Lee. To know oneself is to study oneself in action with another person. Bruce Lee. If you think a thing is impossible, you'll only make it impossible. Bruce Lee. Obey the principles without being bound by them. Bruce Lee. Do not deny the classical approach, simply as a reaction, or you will have created another pattern and trapped yourself there. Bruce Lee. The idea is that flowing water never goes stale, so just keep on flowing. Bruce Lee. In Buddhism, there is no place for using effort. Just be ordinary and nothing special. Eat your food, move your bowels, pass water, and when you're tired, go and lie down. The ignorant will laugh at me, but the wise will understand. Bruce Lee. Real living is living for others. Bruce Lee. Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Bruce Lee. Boards don't hit back. Bruce Lee. Everything you do, if not in a relaxed state, will be done at a lesser level than you are proficient. Thus, the tensed expert marksman will aim at a level less than his or her student. Bruce Lee. It's like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory. Bruce Lee. Don't get set into one form. Adapt it and build your own, and let it grow. Be like water. Bruce Lee. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Bruce Lee. The stillness in stillness is not the real stillness. Only when there is stillness in movement does the universal rhythm manifest. Bruce Lee.